Can you be my daddy for one night? The snow fell softly through the amber glow of the Christmas lights, creating a magical carpet of white across Central Park. Each flake danced lazily through the winter air, catching the warm light from the towering evergreens that lined the pathway. The evening was peaceful, filled with the distant sound of laughter and the gentle crunch of footsteps on fresh snow. Marcus Whitman pulled his dark coat tighter around his shoulders as he walked slowly through the park. The expensive shopping bags in his hands felt heavier than usual tonight. Inside were carefully chosen gifts for his business partner's children, each one picked by his assistant because Marcus himself had no idea what children liked. At 35, he had built an empire worth millions, but he had never learned the simple joy of choosing a toy for someone he loved. The loneliness hit him differently during Christmas time. His penthouse apartment would be empty when he returned, just like every other night. The silence there was so complete that sometimes he could hear his own heartbeat echoing off the marble floors. Success had cost him everything that truly mattered, and tonight, surrounded by families enjoying the holiday magic, he felt that absence more deeply than ever. As he rounded a bend in the path, Marcus noticed a small figure sitting alone on a bench near the frozen pond. The child was so still that at first he thought it might be a statue, but then he saw the gentle rise and fall of tiny shoulders. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, sat perfectly straight with her hands folded in her lap. She wore a beautiful pink dress with delicate lace trim, the kind parents save for special occasions. Her blonde hair was braided with care and decorated with small pearl clips that caught the light. But what struck Marcus most was how alone she looked. There were no parents nearby, no adults watching over her. The evening was growing colder, and the park was slowly emptying as families headed home for dinner and warmth. Marcus slowed his pace, then stopped entirely. Something about the scene pulled at his heart in a way he had not felt in years. The little girl sat with such dignity, such quiet patience, that he found himself walking toward her before he had made a conscious decision to do so. "Excuse me," he said gently, his voice soft so as not to startle her. "Are you here by yourself?" The little girl turned to look at him, and Marcus felt his breath catch in his throat. Her eyes were the most beautiful shade of blue he had ever seen, clear and bright like winter sky. But there was something in those eyes that made his chest tighten. A sadness that no child should carry. A loneliness that mirrored his own. "Yes, sir," she said politely, her voice small but steady. "I'm waiting." "Waiting for what?" Marcus asked, settling his shopping bags on the ground and taking a careful step closer. He did not want to frighten her, but he could not simply walk away. The little girl was quiet for a long moment, studying his face with those remarkable eyes. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "Can you be my daddy for one night?" The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He had expected her to say she was waiting for her parents, or for someone to pick her up. He had not expected such a simple, heartbreaking request. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice gentler than it had been in years. "Tonight is the Christmas pageant at my school," she explained, her small hands smoothing her dress. "All the other children have their daddies there to watch them sing. I told everyone my daddy would come too, but..." She trailed off, looking down at her perfectly polished shoes. "But your daddy cannot come?" Marcus asked, quietly. "I do not have a daddy," she whispered. "Mommy says he went to heaven before I was born. But I told everyone at school that he would be there tonight, and now..." A single tear rolled down her cheek, which she quickly wiped away with the back of her hand. Marcus felt something crack open in his chest. This brave little girl, dressed in her finest clothes, sitting alone in the cold because she had created a story to fit in with her classmates. The courage it must have taken to ask a stranger such a thing. "What is your name?" he asked, kneeling down so they were at eye level. "Emma," she said. "Emma Rose Mitchell." "Emma Rose," Marcus repeated, and the name felt right on his tongue. "That is a beautiful name." "I am Marcus." "Mr. Marcus," Emma said with a small smile. "That is a nice name too." They sat together in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the snow continue to fall around them. Marcus found himself thinking about all the Christmas pageants he had never attended, all the small hands that had never held his, all the bedtime stories he had never read. "Where is your mother, Emma?" he asked. "She is working," Emma said matter-of-factly. "She works 2 jobs so we can have our apartment. She does not know about the pageant. I did not want to make her feel bad that she could not come." The simple acceptance in the child's voice broke Marcus's heart completely. Here was this little girl, protecting her mother's feelings while facing her own disappointment with such grace. Emma rose. Marcus said slowly, "I would be honored to be your daddy for one night." The smile that spread across Emma's face was like sunshine breaking through winter clouds. It was pure joy, innocent and complete, and Marcus felt something in his soul wake up after years of sleep. "Really?" she asked, bouncing slightly on the bench. "Really," Marcus confirmed. "But we should probably call your mother first, to make sure it is okay." Emma pulled a small piece of paper from her pocket with a phone number written in careful child's handwriting. As Marcus dialed the number, he found himself hoping with all his heart that Emma's mother would say yes. The conversation was brief but warm. Sarah Mitchell, Emma's mother, was a single nurse working a double shift at the hospital. When Marcus explained the situation and offered to take Emma to her pageant, there was a long pause on the other end of the line. "She asked you that," Sarah said finally, and Marcus could hear the love and sadness in her voice. "She did," Marcus confirmed. "And I would consider it a privilege." After a few more questions and Marcus providing his full name and credentials, Sarah agreed. She would meet them at the school after the pageant. As they walked hand in hand toward the school, Emma chattering excitedly about her song and her costume, Marcus felt something he had never experienced before. A sense of purpose that had nothing to do with profit margins or board meetings. A warmth that came not from achievement, but from the simple act of making someone else happy. The Christmas pageant was everything Marcus had imagined and more. Emma sang, "Silent Night," with a voice like a tiny angel, and when she spotted him in the audience and waved, Marcus felt tears he had not cried in decades rolling down his cheeks. After the pageant, as they waited for Sarah to arrive, Emma slipped her small hand into his. "Thank you, Daddy Marcus," she said quietly. This was the best Christmas ever. And as Marcus looked down at this brave, beautiful little girl who had changed his life in the span of a few hours, he knew that for him, it was too.